KXWR Saley Warrior Radio yat bene she Isaac Matson initiate twotoni initiate twitchini bushes chin kitlachin dashchain karena dashanella yat you are listening to KXWR Warrior Radio. Today we are joined by Dr. Deborah Jackson-Dennison, president of Diné College, to discuss the Diné College's recent announcement regarding the restoration of federal Pell Grant processing for students. Diné College recently shared updates on the progress made in resolving delays that affected Pell Grant funding across multiple semesters, following a challenging period that included changes in federal financial aid systems, staffing transitions, and the 2025 fire that impacted the Student Union building here in Saley, Arizona. Today we will talk about what led to those delays, the work being done to support students, and what comes next for financial aid operations and student services at Diné College. Dr. Dennison, thank you for joining us today. And Dr. Dennison, before we begin, for listeners who may not know you yet, would you like to introduce yourself and share a little about your role here at Diné College?
Sure, and thank you for having me. Yate Bene, listeners of Warrior Radio, not rodeo. That tells you a lot about where my mind is sometimes. But anyway, She'e Deborah Jackson-Dennison Yinishye, Bilagana Nishle, Kia Ani Bashishchin, Ado Bilagana Dashache, Do Bashihi Dashanella. I'm born and raised on the Navajo Nation in the Window Rock area. My father's family's from Tisto, Arizona, so my lineage comes from the area out there in Tisto, Delcon area, and then my mother originated from California. So it's a long story to how I got here to Diné College, but I grew up mostly in the area. In fact, I'm an alumni of Diné College. My late father is Dr. Dean C. Jackson. He was president here in the late 70s and early 80s for about 10 years. And so I was a teenager at the time, so of course I went to school here. And it was just a great experience growing up in the community here. So this is my second home. Currently I have my late husband and I have a home out in Tohatchee, New Mexico. So I worked here for a while too as a faculty member, and so did my husband. My husband worked here for about 20 years, and my children grew up here. So it's home to me, and it's coming full circle after spending about 10 years out in the San Carlos Apache Nation out there working in the school systems there. So I'm coming from the background of a 21-year superintendent work in the K-12 systems, but my doctorate is in educational leadership and policy studies, so it's reflective of Indian education as a whole. So I'm really proud to be back serving my community and my people. It's really nice to be here, and it's nice to see this beautiful studio that you have set up here. So thank you for having me, and good morning to everyone out there.
Thank you. And recently, Diné College shared an update about Pell Grant funding for students. Can you talk a little about what's been happening and where things stand right now?
Yes, this has been a long untying of a knot that I always refer to it. It's been a journey to figure the system out as far as what's been happening, and as I've shared in the press release, that a little bit of it happened. It's not a matter of finger pointing right now. It's a matter of getting it right, because students have really suffered, at the expense of just not doing things correctly. And so it goes back to when the loss of our late President Russell, when he passed on, and then changes happened at the same time. It was like a perfect storm where the U.S. Department of Education and the federal government was trying to close down the U.S. Department of Education. So then a couple months later, the fire happened of the Student Union building. So there was a lot of chaos in that whole process. And so things were lost, deadlines were missed, and so it really set back. And it didn't just happen to some extent just at Diné College. It happened to some extent at other TCUs, and just the displacement of staff at the U.S. Department of Education was some of it, and some of it was on the institution's fault. And that's why I put the apology out there, because although, I wasn't here at the time, but at the same time, when you take on a role like this, you have to find out and figure out what's happening and make it right. So it took a team of everybody coming together and addressing it. It like I said, it was untying a big knot of yarn or something like that to what goes where, and it's almost like sometimes it gets so frustrating because of the systems that are in place now. And so just having to go through that was a big learning experience for many of us. But we are right now at a place where we're pretty confident that students are going to it won't happen again. We're at that place where we've figured out the system, and we made things. It was like rebuilding a airplane. I guess while we were flying, you're flying and building the airplane at the same time, and trying to put the pieces back in place and trying not to crash. So it's been a big journey, and I'm just glad that we got through it. We got help from the Navajo Nation Scholarship Office, who had personnel over there that knew how to, a lot of coding that had to happen, and reading codes and all of that went to the federal government, and understanding where students were with the process of what they were awarded, and if they weren't awarded already some other institution, it goes back and forth like that. It doesn't just happen overnight. It has to be days of going back and forth and communicating with the U.S. Department of Education at the Federal Student Financial Aid Office there, and under the U.S. Department of Education, the Pell Grant Award Program. So that's what we've been through, and it just was so exciting to know that we are finally making progress. And according to the last report I received, it was that we've pretty much finished out the 2025 summer funding, and then the fall funding of 95% for the fall 2025, and then they're finishing out spring of 2026. So we should be up to speed. And so now the people are in place, the systems, and it's all about systems, and it's all about, my philosophy has always been systemic reform. What's working and what's making it work, and then what's not working. Looking at the system and looking at the need. And right now this was like streamlining. Here's the student need of they're not getting their Pell Grant on time, and what's going on. And so you go back and you have to look at the system and where is it failing. You go back, and it's more of that approach. So we're building systems to make the success of students more possible.
And what has been the biggest priority for you and the college throughout the process?
I'm always of the thinking of the Naagháí, Bik'eh, Hózhóón, and what it means. And that in itself is, from an educational standpoint, it's the student-centeredness. To me, that cornstalk represents the students and the growth that we have, and the purpose of the college being designed and put in place from our founding fathers, who had that vision and that forethought of how we need to do education and what we want as the people. That question's never been asked in education throughout. When you look at education, people think about, the Western approach. And so Diné College was designed to help our students, help our people be successful in both worlds. And so when you look at it from that standpoint, you have to look at it as student-centered. So that's been my priority, and that's why when you take the systems approach, it takes the emotions out of it, it takes the feelings out of it. And that's been kind of the struggle, because people are thinking it's about people. And yes, it is about people to a certain extent, but the people that we're centering on are the students. The focus is on the students, and how can we make it so that they're successful. I've always said in my career, talking as a leader, is that we've had our chance to go to school. We've already gone to school. We've gone we're where we're at, especially in leadership. Where we're at, we can't focus on the adults or the it's hard to say the adults because the students are adults too, and especially at a community college or Diné College system. But we're the employees, and we don't want to be employee centered. I know it's hard to think of it that way because for so long it's been it's an employment. It becomes an employment agency, so we have to take that focus off of the employment agency aspect and put it on. Okay, we're all here to do a job to help students be successful. So that's the priority here. So changing that mindset of our staff and our faculty and our hardworking workers that we do have, our people that we have here, our employees that we have, to that focus is one of the priorities, that the main priority working from the onset here.
And the press release mentions significant progress has already been made. Where does that progress stand right now for students?
As far as the Pell Grant issue, like I said, the last report I have is that it says 100% of the summer 2025 has been processed and dispersed, but I did get a message that there's a student that said, I didn't get my 2025. So if you're out there listening right now, and I have, put on the press release that there's an email that you can respond to, the contact information, and I think it's Office of the President, Diné College, Office of the President at dinecollege.edu. You can email that or call the number, and we'll work with you one-on-one with what's going on. But according to what I was informed from the team that's been working on this, is that 100% of the summer 25 was paid out, and then 95% of fall 26 has been paid out, and then processed and dispersed, and then 39% of the spring 2026. So that's where it's at.
So that's for students who may still have questions about the financial aid or account status. Right. That's where it should go.
I want to be personally involved with making this right, because it's not. It's just not right for students not to be able to get their disbursement in a timely manner. I mean, especially now with the economy being so upside down, with gas prices so high, and groceries are just extremely high, and child care, and all these things that our students have to worry about. They shouldn't have to worry so much with what's happening with my Pell Grant. And with that being said, I am so I just really want to apologize for what has happened here, and I want to say that as long as I'm here, I want to make certain that these kind of things don't happen, because students are our priority.
And you mentioned how stressful it's been for students and families. What would you like them to hear directly from you hear from you today? I know you've mentioned this a little bit more, but yeah. Yeah,
I just, I care about our people. I know the history of Diné College. I know why it was established. My own father was very instrumental in this, so I listened as a young child, never thinking that I would become college president one day, but I listened and I watched and I learned, and I came back and I taught here. I raised my children here. My husband worked here for about 20 years, and so I know the community, I know the people, I know the purpose of Diné College, and I know how important it is to the future of our people. So that is why I chose to come back here, and it is for that purpose of ensuring that vision that seed that was planted, that those prayers that were done way back in the beginning of why our people wanted the college to be here, and why we needed a community college at this level of higher education. What was the purpose of it, and how important it was, so that we can confront some of those issues that came from the Western education system alone. That we have the data has always showed that we're not as successful. So what we want to do is continue that legacy that was put in place, and that historical purpose is really highlighted. And with that being said, that's why I'm here. I mean, I retired from the state system, and I could just go be doing something else. But when this opportunity arose, I took on the challenge, and I thought, okay, let me apply for that and see what happens. And I'm here, and I have to remind myself every day, no matter the challenges out there that happen, it's about how to help students be successful so that we can improve the quality of life for our Navajo people. And that's really the purpose of the Diné College, and making it so that our students learn and are able to, in ways that we know we learn best, and to understand where they come from. And you look at it from a research standpoint. You look at research such as Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and students have to feel safe and secure before anything else. And then for learning to happen, you have to have all these basic needs met. And then you finally reach that higher level of it goes all the way up to where you can, be successful. So it's really important that is understood by all of us that work here for the college, and from a standpoint of Diné philosophy as well. We have to take care of one another. We have to support one another, but it starts with our children, our future generation, and our students, and the success. A long time from now, when I'm not here anymore, or none of us are here anymore, we want to leave this place in a way that it continues to grow, and it continues to be flourishing in a way that our students know they can come here. It shouldn't be a struggle to go to higher education. It should not. And that's what really concerns me when you look back at this whole issue and how it happened. And but it's also understandable too, because we're all humans, and it was an emotional, stressful time for the college, and what happened with my little dad, I guess my uncle, Dr. Russell, the late Dr. Russell, and then also what happened with the sub burning down. That what an emotional situation that was. I can just understand from that point of view too, but it's not an excuse. We still have to work hard, and that's what we're here for, is making certain that you as students out there are able to receive the quality education that you deserve, that's been designed for you purposely to be successful.
And how important has communication been during this process, especially in making sure students, families, and community stay informed?
So that's a really good point. It was very difficult because at first, when we first started to tackle this, we had to, and I have to give a lot of credit to our new vice president for institutional advancement. She is Serena Donetsosi, pulled everybody together. She was the one that said, okay, let's do this. And so we pulled everyone together, and from Shiprock campus to, the financial aid staff and people that were not in that financial aid program anymore, but were still within the college. We pulled everybody together to kind of map out who knows what, who can do what, and how are we going to tackle this, because the biggest part of it was communication to the U.S. Department of Education and staying on the phone with them, and my personally getting involved of staying on the phone and not letting them push you aside and say, okay, you got a number, your number is such and such and such, we'll contact you in 24 hours. That is not going to fly, because that was what was happening. So I had to literally say, this is the president of the Diné College, and we are in an emergency situation here. I do not want to wait 24 hours. We have to take this to the highest level possible to get this resolved. Please, can you check on this and figure out what's going on and why we're not getting the coding system taken care of. So yeah, that's really what it took. The communication part was key to it all, and staying focused and staying on top, because when you're working in an institution like this, there's all kinds of things going on at the same time, and you have to stay focused on the most important thing, and that became our priority. I want to say it was maybe a month ago, we really started working diligently on this to get it resolved. Before, it was like, wait 24 hours, you wait, and then comes back, oh, you're still not. I finally got the signature page authority to go through after staying on the phone with them for a few hours.
Wow, because I mean, as you were explaining that, I think we can all relate to that. You know, here's your number. Maybe we'll get back to you.
Yeah,
like you know,
that's just the systems that fail us. You know,
Yeah.
those are the systems that we can't have that. It's not right, and so somebody has to be persistent. I keep telling the staff, you got to be that chihuahua that just keeps barking at the hills and not let loose until you get what you want. And that's really what it is. We have to do.
And you touched on this a little bit, but I want to go back up to it. What steps is the college taking to prevent disruptions like this in the future?
Okay, that's also a good point. It goes back to my philosophy and my background as a systemic reformist in Indian education. So again, you got to know the history of why education was not successful in the past for many of our students, and then it goes back to the purpose of Diné College. I actually did my doctoral research kind of connected to the Naagháí Bik'eh philosophy. So looking at tying that to a model that from a Western standpoint, and I remember being in a class in my program and saying, this is not a model that that is recently designed. This is the Navajo philosophy of learning here, and so you have to connect it back to that and looking at it as from a reform standpoint and looking at systems. If you have systems in place, these things don't happen, and people know their roles and responsibilities, and they know, and there's accountability in place, and that's what we're working toward. That we have a system in place. It goes to our organizational chart. It goes to who knows who's responsible for who and who's the backup person just in case. A lot of cross training in a systems reform method, and so it's just that kind of work that has to happen, that we're all, like I've said, all hands on deck, that we're not going to let this happen again, because we are all going to be focused on the system that we're working in and looking at it as a system and not just an employment agency, so to speak. We're a system that's designed to focus on student learning and student growth, student wellness, student safety, student everything while they're here. And for us too to be safe, but that whole process needs to be connected together.
And what have you learned through this process as a leader, both personally and professionally?
I've learned that, being away for 10 years, not on Navajo, I've always said we're very fortunate as Diné people, as Navajo people. We have so much to be thankful for, and working and I've worked in several communities, Native communities besides Navajo, and they have a lot, but we have a lot to be thankful for. And Diné College being the first tribally controlled college, we are the lead in things, and so I've learned that coming back here, there's some things that have changed, and then there's some things that haven't. And so I really feel like putting the systems approach in place is going to make it a better place. I've learned, not just here but other places, that it's about the mindset. It's about changing the mindset to become a growth mindset rather than a deficit mindset. And a lot of times our people tend to fall into that thinking of, we don't have enough, it's not enough, but when you think of it from a growth mindset, we're so fortunate, we're so wealthy, we have so much here, we have so much knowledge, we have so much. Our elders still have our traditions and our culture, and our way of life is still celebrated in a way. It's not just it's not just having a ceremony here and there. It's an everyday way of life that we've built into the system here, and so that is something that I'm so grateful for, and I've learned to really appreciate that when I went away, and because I see that one of the biggest concerns that's always expressed in one of the roles I'm in as on the National Advisory Council for Indian Education at the federal level is that, there's still a lot of schools and systems out there that are disconnected from the world of Indian people, Native people. So that's what I'm grateful for, and I'm back into the routine of, okay, I see this, and so now getting, I guess, the challenge that I see most here is that changing that mindset of thinking we are so fortunate, instead of thinking of in survival mode. I want our staff and our employees and our people to think we are going to be thriving. We're thriving again, and that's where I think the change will shift. It will shift for the better. I know that it saddens me that so much happened in the past that kind of hurt the college and hurt the community, but I'm very positive thinking that we will bounce back, and we will definitely get the student union rebuilt. Mm-hmm. We will build it back better, and we will work to get our courses taught so that we can offer more. I mean, we want to concentrate on what it is that will help our people, our Diné people and our Navajo Nation, and then beyond that, what is the interest of our people? What is the interest of our students coming to us? What do they want? And like I said, that's the whole question in systemic reform in Indian country, is asking our people, what do you want? What is it that you want? Because when you look at it from an educational standpoint and you look at Western education, our people were never asked. They were never asked, what do you want? We're always told. We're so used to being told by the government, we're always told anyway. The state, whether it's the state or the government, or this is what you're going to do. Instead of designing a system that's for our people and designed to feed out to the nation, the nation building. That's what's called nation building. So that's really one of the things I've learned. There's so many possibilities here. It's just sometimes I can't sleep at night because I think, wow, you know what we could do, and ideas come to me, and I get really excited about this position that I have now, and I'm very fortunate about it in that sense. So it's about nation building and learning that there is so much possibility, and we should not think in a limited mindset.
I like that,
Mm-hmm.
especially as you explain, asking people like what, instead of being told, you're being asked.
Yeah.
That comes from a sense of community, and I like that.
Mm-hmm.
As Diné College continues to move forward, what final message would you like students and Navajo Nation community to take away from this moment?
That there is no limit. There is no limit to any possibility of anything that we set our mind to, that we can accomplish whatever it is that we set our mind to. And it's all about working together, working in a harmonious way. And I really like that, I don't know if it's been noted yet, but I know that recently when I want to say the first couple weeks of being back, Dr. Wilson Aranala stopped by, and he's been in my life for a long time, since growing up as a youngster, and he was talking about the four elements, and then he said that there's two more that needed to be added, and I think that's a key to the success here. And a lot of my work in the past has been on Indian education and understanding the history and understanding how to build systems that honor our tradition and culture, but also acknowledge that we're healing. We're healing from that. We're forever healing from the tragedies and the trauma, and we see it all around us. We see that the social ills that are we're impacted by daily in education. It's a result of a lot of the failures of education system in the past. So I think that's a way I want to say. I don't want to get all radical and say, but I've said it before, where a system like Diné College is an approach to decolonization of education that has hurt our people for so long. So I just want to leave that out there for people to think about, because that's really the way I think of it in my view as a leader. You have to think about those things. You have to know that, yes, we can change, we can do things, but it's an approach that we're not quite used to, because it's been so drilled into us that you have to do it this way, you have to do this way, you have to get this degree to get this, and it's like, okay, let's slow down a little bit. Let's look at this from a different standpoint and think about it. Why was Diné College put here? What was the vision of our forefathers, and what were they about? It was put here because, and I think about my own father's journey and how he loved Diné College, and what he went through in his journey through education, where they were stripped away from their families and sent to the programs to become, in his case, they wanted him to become he learned leathercraft, and he worked in they were vocational type, training, so that they could be in the view of Western education. It was to be productive citizens of that and being assimilated into society in that way. But it wasn't a good thing for many people, and him included. I mean, they suffered a lot. My dad and my late uncle, Jack Jackson, who worked here for many years as well. So with their experiences, people like him, they came back and they wanted to make the system right for our people. And so that's where Diné College stands true to that. And that's what I want to say as a message out to our people, is that that's the purpose of our college. It's special, it's unique, it's supposed to be, and it's not one way. It's not, so it sometimes can get off balance, like what happened. It sometimes can get off balance, but it's up to us as leaders to pull it back and remember, okay, we need to do certain prayers or certain, come together and remember that we're not just like any other institution. We are unique. We are special. We are very wealthy in the knowledge that we have. And as we grow older, I notice that, one of the things that concerns me is that we're losing our elders. And I know that around the time when my late uncle Jack passed on, because my dad had passed in 92, so when he passed on a few years back now, it was a big loss. You think about that. You think about the same time we lost Peterson Zaw. We lost those level of leaders that really understood and stood strong for what Diné College is about. And so you think about the loss in that way, and we have to. The challenge is up to us to really pull our people forward and understand the history and really document, what we've been through and what's going on and where we are now in the process of healing, and also just making certain that we're honoring our past and respecting why the college is here.
I appreciate you telling that, especially bringing your history, your personal heritage and everything, and really kind of coming in. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Dr. Dennison, thank you again for taking the time to speak with us and sharing these updates with the Diné College community. For students with questions about their financial aid status, Diné College encourages students to stay in contact with Financial Aid Office for the latest information and assistance. You've been listening to KXWR Warrior Radio. I'm Isaac Madsen. Thank you for listening, and we will continue with more music. Oh, it's just me. More music, and it's back to me.